Okay, welcome again to the session on data collection tools of business research methods. So we were here in the previous session. So what are the chief merits of conducting an interview method here to collect the data? So that is what we were discussing in the previous session. Just to have a review, more information of course can be obtained using this interview method because there is no restriction of questions here, especially when it comes to the questionnaire method or a kind of a survey method. If you use there, the questions are very restricted in nature. So here, if you want to dig in more information from the respondent, you can always do through your own questions. And of course, interviewer by his own skill can overcome the resistance if any of the respondents is not willing to give the information or anything like that. So if the interviewer is very skilled enough, he can build a very good rapport with the respondent, and he can convince that respondent to give the correct information. So sometimes it happens that the respondents resist, they don't want to or they don't wish to give the information. So in that situation, interviewer should be intelligent enough and skillful enough to handle this kind of situations. So that will always that is possible in interview method. But whereas if you go for what I can say, a questionnaire method, it may not be possible. Kindly mute your audios, please. There is a greater flexibility under this method as an opportunity to restructure the questions wherever necessary. So, especially in case of unstructured interviews, there is no set of questions, systematic set of questions which you have to answer, ask the respondent here. You can always restructure them. You can mix and match them based on the situation. You can ask the questions. So that flexibility is there in the unstructured interview method here, which is not available in uh, questionnaire method. Observation method can always well be applied in recording verbal answers to various questions. Of course, whenever they are answering your questions in an interview method, you can observe their facial expressions as well as their behaviors. Okay, so that also can be done here by observing their behaviors, their confidence levels, whether they are telling true or not, giving right answers or not. So these things can be observed in their body language as well as their facial expressions. So even when it is a face to face interview, observation also can be mixed up with this interview method. Personal information can be obtained as well very easily in this method. You can dig about their own personal information, but where in questionnaire method, what happens is whatever questions you are asking, they will be only restricted to that information. Then samples can be controlled more effectively as there arises no difficulty of missing returns. Yesterday also I was talking about this. Whenever if the respondent does not want to answer the question or anything like that, what happens is here there is a chance that interviewer can convince him to answer the question. But in questionnaire method, you just distribute the questionnaires, they will answer and give it back. So later it becomes very difficult to go back and again ask the respondent to fill in the missing details. But here, at the same point of time, you can ensure that the questions are being answered completely without being left unanswered. The interviewer can usually control the person or persons who will answer the questions here. Of course, because he is always going to be the upper hand here. This is not possible in the mailed questionnaire approach because there you cannot control them. You have just given the questionnaire to them, they'll fill and they will give it back. But here, in any case, it may be like convincing them to answer specific, some sensitive questions or anything like that, some personal questions. The interviewer can intervene himself, can ask or request the respondent that this information is not going to be shared. So convince him to answer the questions. So that human touch approach is existing in the interview method. Some more merits here. The interviewer may catch the informant off guard and thus may secure the most spontaneous reactions that would be in case if the mailed questionnaire would have been used. So here what happens, suddenly some questions can be asked to them and you can get some spontaneous reactions. Questions related to their personal data, questions related to some sensitive issues. Okay, so such kind of questions, suddenly if you throw them, and they may give you spontaneous reactions, they will not get opportunity to think also. So that plus point is existing in the interview method. But whereas in the questionnaire method, they will get plenty of time. They will think 10 times to answer the questions, especially sensitive questions. They'll think and answer it in such a way that nobody gets affected here. So you may get biased answers in the questionnaire method. But whereas in interview method, there is always a chance that you get natural spontaneous reactions from the respondents. At the same time, the language of the interviewer can also be changed or adopted. The level of language also can be changed here based on the education level of the person. But in the questionnaire method, whatever questions you have fixed, that has to be understood by the respondent, and they have to answer them. There is no other options available for them. So that is one more merit here. Then interviewer can collect supplementary information like personal characteristics, the place where they stay, the place where they work, kind of environment they are existing or they are living in. All such information can be helpful
Ma'am,
for him. Hello, hello, Geetanjali. Any one of you can tell me whether you are able to listen
ma'am,
to. Yes,
ma'am,
Geetanjali.
y- your voice is breaking frequently, ma'am.
Okay. Too much, huh?
Your voice is stuck, man.
Too much, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
If I talk slowly,
Yes, ma'am.
if I talk slowly,
That's okay, ma'am. And you're going too fast, ma'am. I'm unable to catch your points.
oh, actually the previous slide was already discussed in the previous session, so I went fast.
Okay, ma'am.
Now I'm going.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, no, I'm going to go slow. Don't worry. This was the previous session
Okay,
review. What I was doing.
okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, I'll go slow. I'll go slow. If I go slow, whether it is breaking.
No, ma'am.
Okay, done then. Fine. I'll go slow. Okay, don't worry. Please mute your
Okay, ma'am.
mic. Yes. So these were the merits, especially when we discuss about interview method. So let us now try to understand some demerits here. It is a very expensive method. The reason is you have to ensure that interview is conducted one-to-one basis. So what happens is either you have to go spend time with the respondents and collect information from them, or else you have to appoint somebody who can do this work for you. And if you are appointing somebody, what happens is you have to pay them. It comes with a cost. So that is why it is an expensive method in terms of cost and also time. Why? Because when large number of people are there from whom you are supposed to collect the data, it becomes highly time consuming. So in questionnaire, what happens? If there are 100 people, you give questionnaires to 100 people within 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever time frame you give. Within that time frame, all will give you the question paper, filled questionnaires. But in interview method, what happens is every respondent you have to spend 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So let us say if there are 1,000 respondents, for every single person you are spending 10 minutes. 1,000 respondents means 1,000 into 10 minutes. So it may roughly come up to 10,000 minutes of time which you are supposed to spend here. So that is why it is highly expensive here in terms of cost as well as time. Then another demerit is there remains the possibility of biasness of the interviewer as well as the respondent, as well as that of the respondent. There also remains the headache of supervision and control over the interviewers. Of course, this happens. Let us say if the interviewer does not like the respondent, okay, at that time he may not show that interest and enthusiasm or dedication in taking the interview correctly. The same thing happens with the respondent also. If the respondent only is not interested or willing to attend the interview, or he or she does not like the interviewer, he may also be biased towards answering the questions also. So that is why it is a big headache to the management or the researcher to supervise and control the interviewers. I told you, sometimes researchers will go themselves to conduct interview, or they will appoint interviewers. If they appoint interviewers, it becomes highly difficult for them to supervise these interviewers and control them, because the data is primary data, and if it is not correct, your whole research is going to end up in a kind of a wrong conclusion. So that is why the researcher has to be very very careful when it comes to appointing interviewers from outside. If he himself is collecting, well and good, he can rely upon his approach. But whereas if he is appointing somebody to collect the data, he should be very careful. He should check the skills and competencies of that interviewers whom he is going to appoint. Then certain types of respondents, such as important officials or executives or people in high income groups, may be easily approachable under this method. Let us say you're only conducting an interview, you're only collecting data from top 10 HR managers of top 10 companies in India. At that time, interview is the best method suggested. Okay, so especially important officials or executives or high level employees or people, if they are there, for them it is better not to give in a questionnaire or observation method. The best way to collect data from them is the interview method. But as I told you, if it is the respondents are limited in number, interview method is suitable. If it is not like that, if number is big, at that time interview method becomes very difficult to handle. This method is relatively more time consuming. I have already told about that, especially when the sample is too large and recalls upon the respondents are necessary. So that is what is already been explained to you. So some more demerits we'll discuss. The presence of the interviewer on the spot may overstimulate the respondent, sometimes even to the extent that he may give some imaginary information just to make the interview interesting. Sometimes what happens, just to impress the opposite person, that is the interviewer, the respondent will give exaggerated answers, some imaginary information. Let us say how many times you have visited America, right? So to impress him, he may give wrong information saying that, oh, I visited America 10 times, 20 times, even though he has not done it. So such kind of information, imaginary information, can be given to impress the interviewer here. This problem is always existing. But in questionnaire method, what happens is, normally people don't wish to give wrong information because it is in a written format. And I have told it, written format means it acts like a proof of information. So normally when it is in a written format, people don't tend to give wrong information, and there nobody is there to for them to impress them. But here, to make the interview more interesting, or to impress the interviewer, let us say like a very beautiful girl is taking an interview, right? So to impress that girl, the person is going to give some imaginary information that he has visited America for 10 times. So such kind of problems can occur during interview method. So under the interview method, the organization required for selecting, training, and supervising the field staff is more complex with formidable problems. As I told you, researcher alone cannot go and conduct interviews and collect the data. So he has to appoint somebody who can do this work for him. But let us say there is a research agency and they want to conduct a research, and they want some people to conduct interviews and collect the data. So these interviewers them have to be selected, they have to be trained how to conduct the interview, how to collect the data, and they have to be supervised. So this is a big headache for the organizations or research agencies who are conducting research. But without training and proper selection, it is better not to go for outside people to conduct the interviews. Then, interviewing at times may also introduce some systematic errors. Of course, during some time, noting down of information. So that is a systematic error. So you may miss some information. You may note it down in a wrong manner. So the respondent has responded it in a different manner. You have understood it in a different manner, and that is why you have noted down it wrongly. So such kind, even though you are following a systematic method, such errors may happen. So these kind of errors may happen, which are called as systematic errors. Effective interview presupposes proper rapport with the respondents that would facilitate free and frank responses. But it is very, very difficult in interview method. And I told you, interview method is good only when the respondents give free and frank responses. And when they can give free and frank responses, only when the interviewer try to build a good rapport with the respondent. And normally within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nobody can build a good rapport with the respondents. So it becomes very difficult to get right data from the respondents in some situations during the time of interviews. So these are few demerits of interview, personal interview or face-to-face interview method. So the same way, whatever interviews are conducted on a telephone is called as telephonic interviews. So the information is collected based on contacting the respondents on telephone itself. You don't have to go and visit them personally here, and you can conduct it on telephone itself. So it is not widely used method, but still sometimes it can be done here, especially in industrial surveys like uh, salaries of various company surveys. Then we have product service surveys here, right? So such kind of surveys, there are research agencies who will call up the industries or companies, get the information on the phone itself. But when this interview method is possible is when you know the person very nicely and he is interested to talk to you on the telephone. In that circumstances, you can really get good quality information from the interview method, but you will be missing that face to face conversation. So that is telephonic interviews. It is flexible in nature, comparing to the mailing method here. You just call them up and get the information. Hope you must have got customer care executive calls a lot of times on your telephones. So this is a nothing but telephonic way of collecting the information. So what they do, they call you up and they ask you whether you are happy with the service provided from the customer care executive or something like that. So such kind of telephonic interviews are nothing but the way of collecting the data, feedback from the respondents here, the customers here. It is faster as compared to personal interview method and very quick in terms of obtaining information because, but to tell you, you cannot ask too many number of questions in a telephonic interview method. Compared to personal interview, you can really ask continuously many questions, but whereas telephone, you have to restrict yourself. So that is why short surveys, wherever possible, there you can go ahead with telephonic interview. It is cheaper than personal interview because you have to only pay the cost of the call here. Okay, so nowadays most of the telecom companies are giving you free call services also. So it is relatively low here because you are not appointing people here to go and conduct the interviews physically. Recall is easy, callbacks are simple and economical. Most of the times these telephonic interviews, they are recorded so that later the data is collected from those recordings. So that is why recall is easy and they are very simple and of course very less cost, that is economical in nature. There is a higher rate of response than what we have in mailing method. The non-response is generally very low. I'll tell you one example of my own. My friend was doing a PhD and she was collecting data from teachers of the whole Karnataka, especially postgraduate teachers. That is, teachers who were teaching at the postgraduate level. So, what happened is she had mailed questionnaire to almost around 20-30,000 faculties only in Karnataka. But the difficulty of what she was finding was the response. The response rate was very, very, very low. She had hardly got around 800 responses back. Out of around 15 to 20,000 mails, she just got how much? Only 7 to 800 people responding to her questionnaire. So this happens in the questionnaire method, and that too when you mail the soft copy to the respondents. So here, if you conduct a telephonic interview, what you can do is you can put the questionnaires in front of you, small set of questionnaires. So it is not like big lengthy questionnaire here, because people don't have time to talk on telephones for too much of time. So small questionnaires, around 8 to 10 or 15 questions maximum you can take in, and you can collect the data by calling the respondents here. Then replies can be recorded, as I told, without causing any embarrassment to the respondents, because there are auto recording systems nowadays in telephones and all. So you can use those kind of methods to record the data. And here what happens is, by recording the data again and again, asking them to give the clarification, that can be avoided. So that embarrassment again and again, trying to ask information, trying to clarify the things, that can be avoided here. Interviewer can explain the requirements very easily here. The same with face-to-face interviews. Here also in telephonic interview, you can easily answer. There are some things which cannot be written and explained to somebody. These things have to be talked or discussed face to face to make the other person understand. So that is why some things have to be told face to face or through telephonic interview. When you discuss and talk, things can become more easily understandable to the respondents also. At times, access can be gained to the respondents who otherwise cannot be contacted for one or the other reason. Yes, if you are not able to contact them on the telephone on a certain time, so again you can mark it and you can again call them back later to get the responses. That is one more chance you can get here. But if it is like a personal interview, let us say we are conducting the research from Dharwad and the person is sitting in Bangalore. You visited Bangalore once, you were not able to meet him. You again came back to Dharwad. So again and again, 2 to 3 times, if you want to go meet that person and conduct an interview, it becomes very difficult. But telephonic interview, at any point of time, you can take appointments, conduct interviews, and then collect the data. No field staff is necessary. On field, nobody is supposed to go here. It is just that you have to sit in the office or the room and call them up to collect the data. The representative and the wider distribution of sample here can be possible. By using this telephonic interview, you can even collect data from some other countries also. But whereas interview method, for one interview, you cannot fly to Australia or America. But in a telephonic interview, you can sit here only, contact somebody who is sitting in Australia and America and get the data from them. So that is wider distribution of the sample. The sample can be even extended to other countries, other states, other provinces also. So these are some merits which you can find in interview method. So let us try to understand the demerits. Very little time, as I told you, on telephone, normally nobody likes to talk too much. So the interview period should not exceed 5 minutes. And the questions have to be slowly asked, and you have to give time to the respondent to answer the question correctly. Otherwise, what happens if you interfere in between, they may get confused regarding the questions, because there is nothing like questionnaire to again go back and look into that questionnaire and answer the question. Little time will be there. So ask the question very clearly and slowly. Let them understand it. Let them answer it. So try to restrict your questions to hardly 10 or 15 to the max, which can be asked hardly around within 5 minutes in most of the cases. Surveys are restricted to respondents who have telephone facilities. Let us say in rural areas, most of the people may not be having telephonic facilities, or let us say they are staying in remote corners where network connectivity is itself very low. In such circumstances, surveys will not be possible for these kind of respondents. But they should be a part of your research. In that circumstances, you have to visit them personally and get the data. Of course, extensive geographical coverage may get restricted by the cost considerations. It is a merit, because a person sitting in Australia can also be interviewed here and the data can be collected. But it comes with a cost. You have to make an international call, and international call will not be at free, right? If you talk for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it will be really costing you very high. If the number of respondent is accessing around 500 to 1000 people, at that time the cost consideration is going to increase. So that is why think of all these factors before deciding upon your sample. It is not suitable for intensive surveys and getting comprehensive answers. Face to face, you can start having in-depth interview. That is, again and again, you can start digging the information from the respondents. But as I said, here the time is very, very limited, and that is why uh, kind of intensive survey questions cannot be asked. At the same time, lengthy answers cannot be also expected from the respondent. So that is one more drawback you can get in telephonic interviews. Then, possibility of the biasness of the interviewer is relatively more. So most of the times what happens is, if you find the respondent young and the voice is very pleasing, the interviewer may think of talking more and trying to get more information. But at the same time, if the respondent is old person and the voice is very rough, or the person seems to not to be interested, in that case the interviewer also can lose his interest on collecting the information from such kind of people. So biasness from the interviewer side sometimes will be there. Possibility of this will be there in the telephonic interview. It is there even in the face to face interview also. Questions have to be very short, to the point, and probing the questions answers, it becomes very difficult here. So that is why you cannot again and again start digging the information here because of the time constraint. Try to keep your questions very, very short and to the point as much as possible, to ensure that the information collected is enough for your research. So these are the demerits of telephonic interviews. So I'll stop for a few minutes to clear your doubts, and then we'll go ahead. Please put on your mics. Kindly put on your mics if anybody is having doubts, please. Sharan is there? Prema? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You are able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Was
Clearly.
was there any disturbance?
No, ma'am.
No, no, it was clear, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we'll stop. We'll stop
Ma'am,
for two.
it was
Yeah.
clear from my side, ma'am. But I don't know about others.
Okay. For you,
But
at
it
least
was
it
clear
was
about
very
my.
clear, no?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Others, Prasad.
Hello.
Yes, Prasad. It was clear.
Yeah, no, something little breaking my voice.
Still, it is breaking.
Slight, ma'am.
Okay, but I was very slow. But is it okay?
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Okay. What about Shruti?
Yes, ma'am.
You're having any doubts?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. The voice is clear.
No, ma'am. It was frequently breaking your voice, ma'am.
Okay. So whether it is because of your network or what?
Don't know, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So, Supriya, any doubts? Varsha, any doubts?
I've
Ash-
understood, ma'am.
yes. Ashutosh,
Yes, ma'am.
any doubts, Ashutosh?
Not as of now.
Okay, it is clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So kindly mute your mics again. I'll be continuing with the topic. Okay. So let us try to look into some more primary sources of data here. Yes, anybody is there? Okay. So let us look into some more primary sources of data here, collecting methods, data collecting methods here. One is warranty cards. So warranty cards is also like a first-hand data because you fill that data and you keep that information with you. So that warranty card normally contains date of purchase, warranty period, and some previous problems which the company has already addressed regarding the particular product. So such kind of data you can get in warranty cards, and it cannot be manipulated. It is purely a primary source of data. Second is distributors audit. So whenever a company wants to select a distributor, he or she conducts something called as distributor audit, let us say. So what do they collect information in this distributor audit? It may be information related to their location, where the distributor is based upon, what is the size of the distributor, how much he is ready to invest in the product purchase, the kind of areas of high risk in terms of investment, whether that state or that particular place is safe enough to invest in terms of uh, giving the distributorship to some franchisee or somebody here. So let us say, like if it is a Jammu and Kashmir, it is a very high risk entity. That is a high risk place or location here. So such kind of audits are conducted. Even the audit related to financial standing of the distributor, to what extent uh, the distributor is in terms of financial aspects, what is his status, and also some possible red flags. Red flags means some negative opinions about the distributor here. So it may be complaints, it may be case against him, or it may be some bankrupt, sorry, it may be some check bounce case on him, any kind of negative impressions on that distributor. So this kind of information is collected through distributor audit. So this can also be a first-hand information or a primary source of data. Then we have pantry audit. It is basically how much goods are available in the pantry at a particular given point of time. So that record, whatever is there, let us say More or Reliance or any kind of a outlet, a supermarket, when you go and ask how many Maggi noodles packs are there in your company, they will be able to tell you the exact number. And if you go and check the shelf, the number will match it. So this kind of pantry audit information at a given point of time. Okay, so if you are getting that information right now itself, the same stock will be maintained in the shelf in that particular unit. So that data can also be called as a primary source, first hand data. Then we have consumer panels. Something like the company has come out with a new product, it has given the product to the customers to test it. So whatever result or whatever opinions they are going to give, so that is nothing but consumer panel data. So it is also a first hand data. There is nothing like a third person giving you this information. So you yourself will go and conduct that test, and you will get the data or opinion from the consumers here. Then you can even use mechanical devices like cameras or voice recorders, which can also give you primary source of information. Another technique is the projective technique. So I have already told about this thematic apperception test or ink blot test. Graphology is handwriting analysis test. Okay, so using this kind of techniques also, you can get first hand primary data collected from the respondents. Projective techniques are more often used especially where sensitive jobs are there, like you have to work in some bureau, central investigation bureaus, some FBI kind of organizations, or high risk and secrecy maintained organizations. So there, especially when you are getting appointed or when you are working there, so to collect information from such kind of for such kind of people, projective techniques are used here. So let us say I want data from some criminals. Okay, I'm conducting a research on criminals and I want data from criminals. If you ask them direct information, they may not give you. So you can use projective techniques here. You can ask them to write an essay and handwriting analysis can be done. You can also give them a ink blot and you can ask them to tell a story about that ink blot or the picture, what they understand on that, what is their opinion on that ink blot picture. So such techniques are used for sensitive issues, and information has to be collected through projective techniques. At the same time, in-depth interviews as a part of interview only are conducted. Content analysis means you are asked to write content, or you are asked to write a essay or your opinion regarding something. So using that opinion or your essay, whatever you write, so that data is analyzed and some conclusion is made based on that. So these are some more primary sources of data you can find being used by the researchers. One more very important method of collecting data is nothing but your own, the most popular one, the questionnaire method. So our students also use this extensively for their projects, right? So this is one of the best and the most popular and cost effective method of collecting the data, and it is not even time consuming also. Okay, so especially when the number of respondents are big in number. Okay, the let's say 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. So in that circumstances, questionnaires are the best methods to be used and very cheap mode of collecting the information. So if you want 1,000 people to respond to your questionnaire, you have to send that data, that questionnaire, to around minimum 15,000 or 20,000 people. So only then you may get 5,000, 1,500 people responding to your questionnaire. And it is easily nowadays, we are all tech savvy, it is being easily done through emails. It is being adopted by private individuals, research workers, private and public organizations, and even sometimes by the government also. So most of the people are using this questionnaire method of collecting data here. In this method, questionnaire is normally posted, or it is by hand given to them, or it is sent through an email where the people have to answer in the questionnaire and return it back. Olden days, when email was not popular, they used to send it by post. In that post, one questionnaire copy, one return envelope copy with the stamp and address, and it was sent through speed post or register post or anything like that to the respondent. So what the respondent used to do? He used to fill the data in the questionnaire and he used to use that envelope which was there with the stamp, send it back to the researcher. So such method was there initially, but nowadays everything is tech savvy, everything is technology based. You just create Google Forms and you just mail it across the link to the respondent and he will respond back to your questionnaire. Any number of questions can be printed in the questionnaire here. And I told you in interview method or in a observation method that it is highly time consuming. But here sometimes the questionnaire may go up till 200 questions also. Okay, there are witnesses where 200, 300 questions are being asked, but the respondents are trained to answer these questions. They are explained first. They conduct a training session for them. They are explained how the questions, why the questions are being asked, how they are sequenced, what is the content of those questions. All this information is provided through a training program, and then the questionnaires are given. They will fill and give it back to you. Especially when the number of questions are more and the questionnaire is very complicated, then you can use this training method. The questionnaire is mailed to the respondents who are expected to read, understand the questions, and write down in the space available or meant for answering. Sometimes it may be a multiple choice method where they have to just tick or choose the best answer, or sometimes the questions can be open ended. We have two categories of questions: open end, closed end. Closed end means there is a fixed answer. Example, yes and no. Okay, so how often do you drink? Yes or no. Okay, or else there is another option like 2 times, 3 times, 4 times in a month or something like that. There is a fixed response for that particular question. So that kind of questions are called as closed ended questions. But if the questions does not have a fixed response and you keep it empty and they have to write their opinions or describe in their own words, such questions are open ended questions. Okay, so we will be discussing variety of questions in the coming days after this particular chapter. So what are the merits of this questionnaire method? The cost is very, very low compared to the other techniques, and you can reach a big sample which is spread geographically. That means you can sit here and mail the questionnaire to the person sitting in America, France, Italy, or some other place, and you can collect the data from them. Of course, you have to put effort to collect their contact details before sending that questionnaire here. You have to get their emails and their where they are working, whether they fit in your samples nature or not. Okay, so that you have to ensure. It is very, very free from the biasness. Nobody can influence the respondent here in answering the questions. The respondent, he is on his own and he can answer whatever he wants. Nobody can influence him on answers. Respondents have enough time to go through the questionnaire nicely, read them, understand them, and give proper answers. But in interview or telephonic interview or face-to-face interview, what happens is on spot you have to give the answer. You don't have too much time to think and give the answer. But here, let us say I have given the questionnaire, I have mailed the questionnaire to you today. You may be given 1 month, 2 months time to fill that questionnaire to send it back to you. So that is one plus point in questionnaire method. The respondents who are not easily approachable can also be reached conveniently. Sometimes if you are not having their contact details, or if you cannot call them and contact them to get the information, You just have to mail them. If you have the email ID, you have to just mail them across and try to get connected to get the information from them. Especially when large samples are there, questionnaire method is the best method to adopt to collect the data. There are certain demerits also listed here. Of course, I told you my friend sent the questionnaire to 20,000 people and she hardly got a response of 700 or 800. The rate of return is very, very, very low. Okay, so that is why no response or non-response problem is always there in the questionnaire method. It can be used only when respondents are highly educated and cooperative in nature. So they should understand what is the importance of this survey and they should be educated and highly cooperating. If they understand and realize the importance of that research and giving that data, they will think of replying back. The control over questionnaire may be lost once it is sent. Guys, if you want to change that questionnaire after it has been mailed to somebody, it may not be possible because once it is already sent, they would have answered it and sent it back to you. But later, if you want to change or manipulate some question, it may not be possible. So that is one more drawback you can get in questionnaire method. But in interview method, you can always restrict yourself to one question, some questions and leave the questions or add some new questions or deduct some new some old questions. So this addition or deletion can happen in face-to-face or telephonic interviews. But in questionnaire, when something is written already fixed in nature, they are already fixed in nature. So manipulation once sent, if it is not sent to anybody, you can still change. But if it is already sent to somebody, there is no chance of having control over your questionnaire. It will come as it is. It will come back to you filled in as it is. There is an inbuilt inflexibility because of the difficulty of amending the approach once the questionnaire have been dispatched. So let us say if it is a Google form, at least you can change the questions. But if it is a PDF questionnaire where they have to just tick mark and send it back to you, there changing that flexibility of changing the questions cannot happen once it is dispatched. There is a possibility of ambiguous replies or omission of replies altogether to certain questions. Omissions means missing answers. Some people may not attempt a few questions only. So that becomes a great headache for the researcher. Such kind of questionnaires have to be kept aside and that data has to be handled very differently. So that is why the researcher, if at all he gets missing answers, right, that is some people don't answer the questions, it becomes very difficult for him to manage in the later stages of data analysis. And sometimes what happens, there is a possibility of ambiguous replies also. Okay, sometimes what happens is, let us say like 5-point rating scale is there, most of the people start giving 3, which is a neutral answer. How can a respondent come to some conclusion if it is a neutral answer, right? If everybody starts giving an average opinion regarding that question, it becomes very difficult for the researcher also to come to some conclusion. So this problems are there, and to overcome these problems only, you should ensure that the questionnaire is being prepared correctly. I don't know, somebody was asking about something called as pilot testing in one session or a message. So what is this pilot testing? It will help you to remove these kind of problems in the questionnaire. Pilot testing is nothing but a kind of a trial survey conducted on the respondents, right? So once you conduct this pilot testing, you will come to know where the respondents are finding difficulty to answer the question, where you can manipulate the question so that it becomes easy for them and understanding is easy for them. So all these problems you will be able to identify after conducting the pilot test. Pilot test is nothing but trial survey conducted on the respondents. It is difficult to know whether willing respondents are truly the representatives of the sample. So whomever you are sending the questionnaire, you don't know whether they belong to the representative sample or not. You are just mailing it across to the large crowd there. Okay, so in that, how much fit into your sample? Sometimes there may be a mistake also. Let us say you are conducting a research on faculty members of North Karnataka. Okay, MBA faculty members of North Karnataka. You have mailed the questionnaire to all the MBA faculties of North Karnataka. In that, 5 people have left the teaching job and they have joined corporate. For them also the questionnaire will go. But your research concentrates on MBA teaching fraternity. Here they are into corporate now. Sometimes you may get answers from such candidates who don't fit into your sample. So that error is always bound to happen in the questionnaire method. This method is likely to be the slowest of all. You can get, if the respondents are in one place, you can just go get the questionnaires filled in and get it back. But if it is mailed across, you have to give them lot of time. You have to again and again remind them to answer the questions and send the form back. So these are some demerits of questionnaire method. So we are going to discuss in detail about different kinds of questions and different scales which can be used in the questions which you are framing for your research in the coming classes. Okay, so for today we are going to close the class, and in the next class I am going to deal with secondary data